One of the things we want families to know is what the impact of kids being on social media is. We know that social media uncontrolled is dangerous. And we have to educate our parents on the fact that when something happens outside of school with social media, we are very limited in what we can do. Even our local authorities are very limited in what they can do because the social media companies have privacy rights that they have to adhere to. And there's no easier access to be able to have an investigation take place just because it happens with a child. In short, what I talk to our families about is the main educational point is you wouldn't send your child to a party 2 hours away in a building with no adults, knowing that there's other adults that could come in and talk to your child and engage with them. That's what you're doing when you allow them to go on social media unsupervised. You're giving them a space where there is anonymity. There are things that can happen to them that you won't know about, that they won't know what to do. So that's the first component that we really like to focus on, educating our families so they can understand the reality of this, technological wild, wild west.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hi, I'm Gearl Loden. I'm a superintendent in Southwest Missouri. The district that I serve is Nixa. We currently have almost 7,000 students. We have 10 schools and one high school of over 2,000 students.
My name is Jose Miguel Kubes. I'm the superintendent at Delhi Unified, which is a school district located in Merced County in the unincorporated town of Delhi. We have 5 schools, 3 elementaries, 1 high school, 1 middle school, and we serve approximately 2,200 students.
Well, good morning. I'm Dr. Fal Asrani, Superintendent of Marysville Joint Unified School District, a historic community about 35 miles outside Sacramento. We have 24 schools and about 11,000 students serving TK through adult school.
How have you in your district been successful in increasing parent engagement to help keep students safe on social media?
Josh, that's a very good question. How do we as a district try to promote keeping our children safe and our families safe? Well, we do have one thing that's not behind the scenes, but we work with our staff on that helps our staff is we have a cyber safety campaign every year for our staff, which helps them as teachers to understand how to reinforce things personally and professionally to help our children and keep our classrooms and students safe. We also had, through the partnership with a mental health agency, a cyberbullying campaign that was, directly videos to our children. Then we had a night where we had community members able to come into the event. And then we have Learning with Loden, which is a monthly series of in-person and video-based updates as far as things around the district. And one of our sessions, cyberbullying, cybersecurity, and how we try to keep our data and our children safe and the district safe. And then we also have a cybersecurity committee. That's a variety of our stakeholders that meets 3 to 4 times a year, and they look at updates as far as things that are going on in other districts, social media trends, and then just things as far as keeping our financial system and data system safe.
Yeah, for starters, it is the education component. We had a community forum this past year where we had many parents show up to discuss the component of safety. And throughout that forum, we started talking about educating our families on social media. One of the things we want families to know is what the impact of kids being on social media is. We know that social media uncontrolled is dangerous. And we have to educate our parents on the fact that when something happens outside of school with social media, we are very limited in what we can do. Even our local authorities are very limited in what they can do because the social media companies have privacy rights that they have to adhere to. And there's no easier access to be able to have an investigation take place just because it happens with a child. In short, what I talk to our families about is the main educational point is you wouldn't send your child to a party 2 hours away in a building with no adults, knowing that there's other adults that could come in and talk to your child and engage with them. That's what you're doing when you allow them to go on social media unsupervised. You're giving them a space where there is anonymity. There are things that can happen to them that you won't know about, that they won't know what to do. So that's the first component that we really like to focus on, educating our families so they can understand the reality of this, technological wild, wild west.
Our adult education and our technology department, they host a monthly meeting with our families. And I think it's really important school districts start doing that. Because many of the families, many of our parents, I have a Zoom meeting once a month called Let's Connect. Parents join me on the Zoom meeting once a month, uh, two times. It's in 10 o'clock in the morning and again 6 in the evening. And I host those two sessions for Let's Connect. So parents can join me from no matter where they are, whether they're driving home, whether they're at their work, whether they're at home. And the entire intent is to let parents know that this is a communication tool, right? Today, you don't have to drive to a place to attend a meeting anymore. As we're doing that, what I'm noticing, more parents are asking technical questions. Like, how do I look at my child's grade report? Where do I go to see how they're doing? How do I pass a message to a principal or a teacher? And it's giving me the opportunity to sign them up for the parent workshop that our tech department is holding once a month, where parents can drop in and be part of the training on how to use various aspects of our district grade book, communication tools, what have you. So I think our parents are also realizing that the tech world is very different now. Communication is completely changed. You don't have to go to a school anymore to attend a meeting. You can just sign on at your convenience, and the school is here to serve, right? And so that mind shift is happening, and parents are getting more engaged. And I'm kind of excited that parents who never use technology now are pulling up their cell phones and joining me on a Zoom in a parking lot about 80 miles from my school district. I think it's very exciting.
Are there any stories that might come to mind about any social media incidents that you've been able to get in front of or perhaps avoid by being proactive?
One of the best things that we have is like Yik Yak and TikTok and all the different challenges out there is we do have SPOs in our district, and we have a group of SPOs in our region that will meet. And then our marketing director is plugged in nationally too, and is also our safety person. So between both of them, they're monitoring what's out there in the nation, and they're having phone calls locally if the district experiences something, or immediate people are reaching other districts out to them after events and saying, okay, if you could go through this again, what would you do differently? And that's helped us to really get ahead of things and be more proactive. And then there's been times where we put out alerts to parents. Here's a challenge that's on TikTok. Be aware of this. Please talk to your child about it. Try to be proactive. Some of the things the middle school students especially are doing with TikTok challenges, we need to make sure the parents know to talk to them about them, because the parents are our greatest resource.
I'll tell you one specific incident, one of many. We had a student anonymously report that someone through a social media account was posting, negative comments about a classmate. Now, we don't know who reported this. We don't know if the posting was about him or her. What we do know is that we were able to get a snapshot of the account, the name of the account, and what inappropriate behavior was happening. And through that, we were able to engage with the social media company to block that account and to close it. And that's what we've been seeing really, really regularly through the Stop It app, getting all these anonymous reports of things that are taking place that are inappropriate, so we can respond to them as best as we can through our investigation and also outcomes.
I think we've spent a lot of time in our district developing this wellness initiative. And I keep repeating that because I think after the pandemic, what we've seen is that adults and students are really suffering from a lot of trauma, which is not just trauma in the family because of the pandemic, but they were on technology for about a year and a half. And it just opened up a whole host of negativity, stress, body imaging issues, confidence issues, bullying online. And so what we have done in our district is we started this initiative, Say Something, Do Something, which is across the entire community. And it involves our local businesses. It includes our local elected officials, as well as our Congressman Lamalfa and Assemblyman Gallagher that have signed on to that pledge. And the pledge says that we are going to do everything we can to get in front of mental well-being of people, make sure that social media or any other impact is going to be reduced as much as possible by reacting in a timely and honest fashion. And I think that conversation has benefited a lot of our community as well. Parents are coming out. We've opened wellness centers. We're able to say, this is where we are at. Come and join us. Get some services for yourself and your family and your children. So parents are slowly beginning to realize that wellness is not just a visit to the doctor's office. It could also be a wellness center, and the school district has it in all our campuses, and we're able to serve our community that way.
The next question I have for you is, what would your advice be to other educators and administrators to work together to create a culture of digital safety and responsibility in their schools?
I think one of the biggest things is making sure you have a great curriculum in digital citizenship, K through 12. And as your children progress at the junior high level and high school level, you've got to address in your classrooms or homeroom the different things like TikTok challenges or how to use social media safely. Once you send it, you can't take it back. And just some common sense things that could really help our students out because they don't think about, I didn't know. I mean, when I was 15, I didn't have to worry about social media, but today you have employers in 10 years that are going to be looking at all of your social media and trying to see the things that you posted, which could affect your being able to have a quality job. And we want to know that our children are aware of what's out there, but also to embrace social media.
It's multifaceted. Though the first one is creating an environment at your learning sites of educating, once again, an appropriate use of technology, social media, educating everyone on the dangers, educating our students and understanding the harm that you cause someone when you're posting negative information, and then begin to educate the families of what their role needs to be outside of school in ensuring that they're monitoring that their students are only accessing social media that is quite frankly legal for them to access, for parents to know that they have to monitor that they have a responsibility in ensuring that their children are participating in safe spaces and also collaborating with us when those spaces are invaded by harmful individuals, even if it happens to be peers. So it's a combination of educating in school, monitoring in school, but ensuring that our families are active partners in doing the same at home and communicating with us so we can take appropriate steps.
A lot of our school district and many superintendents will tell me that they're doing some awesome things. I follow them on various group chats, etc., LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. And I think it's just important for us to know that we don't have all the answers. We really don't. When the pandemic hit us, many of us just struggled with the fact that our adults in our classrooms were not technologically savvy enough to lead online lessons. And so we had to all kind of come together and learn from each other. What is working for you? What's not working for you? And it was important to know that as technology has moved forward so aggressively, and our children who are getting access to all levels of technology now, both in the classroom, whether it's in the cell phone or laptops, we're just learning every day how to get in front of it. It's like Chat GPT that's hitting us hard and square right now. And so we're trying to see, how do we work with plagiarism? What does that look like? What do assignments look like? So it's a big learning for all of us, but also keeping the human factor in mind, right? We're educators. Our children and our adults are trying to train and educate our children for the world of tomorrow. So with the challenges also come immense opportunities, excitement in using robotics and coding and drone technology. So we're excited with the way technology has advanced. Our question is, can we be safe when we're using it and make sure we're responsible as we're letting children have access to more and more technology?
What are the 1 to 2 biggest social media concerns or fears that you have for the future when it comes to student safety, shining online, school safety, and so on?
I don't want to say a fear because anything that you have, it comes out, it's going to be very positive. Then there's always a negative side. And I will use AI. AI right now is so new and people are excited about it. There are going to be some people that misuse it. But in the next 3 years, AI will be baked into everything that we use already. If you use Grammarly, if you use Baird, if you use Bing, or if you use whatever you use, Siri is going to be enhanced. And you'll be able to make a presentation and it'll be in your voice and feel like you. But also you'll have the flip side where they could take your voice and use it against you to hack an account. So I think the things that we're going to see, we're going to have to be in front of, but we can't be afraid of them. I mean, I hear people often talking about, oh, they're going to be cheating on papers. Well, that doesn't mean that you still can't use paper and pencil or have them to turn in the revisions they've had and show the edits. But years ago, you had Cliff Notes you had to deal with. Then you had to deal with Quizlets. Well, we'll have new things, but we'll have, instead of turn it in, we'll have turn it in enhanced to detect if someone used AI.
My first one is connected to the lack of awareness that our families have as far as the nature of the danger of social media. We have a large amount of studies that show that social media is harmful to adolescents. It's harmful to children. Not even talking about like the type of bullying or negative comments that get made, but just like this sense of isolation that comes from it. That's where we struggle, because it's the second component, that technology is so ingrained. The social media aspect is so ingrained in our lives that what worries me the most is it becomes difficult for adults to disconnect themselves from the social media, and then having to model for students that they have to disconnect from it also. I think that in the educational standpoint, we can put some parameters. We can respond to things. There's things that we can do 7 to 4 when our students are with us. But once they go off and they're at home, there's nothing that we can do. And I always fear that we have so many kids out there that are accessing these technologies on their own, and that the parents don't have an activated sense, an amplified concern in monitoring that use. So kids are in danger on their own.
Well, not so much the social media. I think the social media is going to keep multiplying, and I'm hoping that there'll be some level of reversal with parents who are going to start limiting the amount of time children are on social media, because the impact of it is extensive. We're seeing it in our schools. But digital usage, I think, I am excited at where we're going to go with the way we're using our laptops to do e-sports, the way we're using our schools and our programs to do robotics and coding starting in elementary schools, bringing STEM to become a reality and not just a course that some students have access in some communities. So technology is a big thing for me, and I think I'm really excited where we're going. But my concern would also be making sure we have some control over what students are doing with that technology. And in many places, which concerns us educators, but also as a mother, that concerns me, is how often we see parents who are handing a cell phone to a 1-year-old in a shopping cart, in a shopping mall, replacing that with the conversations we used to have with our children. Like, what do you see? Do you see something with the H? And we would do alphabets with our children in the shopping malls, and as you're pushing them in the cart. But now parents give the children a cell phone to play games with. And so I think it's impacting communication. It definitely is impacting social, just majority of how we interact with each other. And I think those are the concerns I have if technology is not used correctly.
Funding is difficult across the country. What advice would you give to other districts to secure funding to create the resources that parents need?
This is where I would call out not just educators and the parents, but your textbooks have been replaced. The traditional textbooks, everything is on the cloud, and the expenses are higher. But our Chromebooks are a lot cheaper than what we originally started with. But to increase the funding so that we have the tech in the schools, especially when you look at the VR and AR, that over the next few years we'll have a lot of experiences for children, especially in rural areas or areas like Nixa where we don't have a lot of industry, where we can expose our children to different careers. And that's where I would call out to partnerships with business clients, corporations, so that we're able to expose our children to the different careers that are out there. So when they're career planning, they'll look at more than just the traditional careers, especially knowing that a lot of the fields today will totally be changed by automation and AI in the future.
So it's interesting that you asked that question. And Delhi Unified School District, what we've been doing is going through a really deeply rooted analysis of the budget. And what I mean by that is traditionally there are so many budget streams that come our way. You have all these grants, you have one-time funds, you have restricted monies that come in. And sometimes it just feels that districts are responding to find ways to connect this funding to things that are taking place. The first piece of advice that I give is we got to get the base budget right. And what I mean by that, having a deep analysis of the bare bones model of services that you can provide to your community. And that becomes the base. So what's the minimum number of teachers, counselors, support personnel that we can have to provide quality service to our families? Once you identify those and you make sure that those funding sources are really aligned to those actions, then we start talking about increased and improved services. What are the things that we can begin to add to that base budget that change the lives of students and their families, and aligning them to these action steps that are really, really concrete and clear? Once you've got those two pieces, those two layers in place, you step back and then you can begin to analyze what is the impact that our base services is having? What is the impact that our additional and increased and improved services is having? So you can make informed decisions as far as where these dollars are going. because otherwise it all gets really interconnected. Right now, districts are facing one-time funds that are going away, and it sounds like in some places people are scrambling, and that's because these additional funds shouldn't have been used for base services. They should have been used for additional services. So that's one of the things that we're doing. It's the advice that I would give. Once again, really, really clarify your base budget. Start looking then at the increased and improved services that you provide and go through an analysis to make sure that those dollars are having an impact. And then you can start making adjustments if the impact is not taking place.
Well, if the priority is that parents are going to be educated in how they can support our children in the schools, I mean, I really feel for parents. Parents are busy at work, and the social media or the technology is growing at a rapid pace. I think school districts just need to be aware if that's a priority, then funding is not a problem. I think it all depends on how school districts use their funding and what the priority is. For us, we spend a lot of our money in building up our adult school. Our adult school had been closed for over 12 years. When I came in as superintendent 3 years ago, that's one of the first things I did. And the reason I expressed to the Board of Education that we had to open our adult school is because I realized if we don't have a safe place for adults to learn together, to share their concerns with each other, come and learn and see where our children are going, we are always going to leave them behind, and they are critical to the success of the children we serve. So yeah, I think school districts should start looking at funding that's out there, maybe look at personal entities that are willing to look into this work. I know for me, I write a lot of grants. We just wrote a $13.5 million grant for wellness, which also brings in parent education as a key component of the grant. So again, I think just keeping our eyes on the funding that's out there that the state of California provides and making sure we write it to the tune of what we want to use it for. We've been very successful with grant writing. So that's the only way to get some extra monies in at this point of time.
Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student-friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.